Well, hello and welcome to my abode. I'm going to be telling many stories, and some of them will seem absurd, some of them far too impromptu, and some of them so far off the wall that you'll never see them because I'll simply delete them. I may also abruptly edit out certain things, so suddenly you'll see my head shift. Oh, how did that happen? And that's because I've intervened. But let me not spend too much time on the prologue and get to some meat, shall we? So my first tale is about Waldo and his pet walrus. That seems like an unlikely combination, but it happened in 1843 in the whaling town of Falmouth, Massachusetts, or reasonably near there. Waldo was a merchant in oils, usually from walruses, but also from elephants and various kinds of whales. Very popular then. You would light your stove with walrus oil or whale oil, or light a lamp and read a story or two by Nathaniel Hawthorne, or one of those New English boys. Or New England boys, I should say. Well, anyway, so his livelihood depended upon the success of the whalers or walrusers, and as they call people who would set forth in three-masted ships to test their fate against the winds and the waves, to see if they could come home with whales or walruses. A lot of W's there. But anyway, so sure, he got on one of his boats and he grabbed himself, his portion of walruses, 6 to a person was usually the limit, because they had to have baby walruses for the next year's harvest. And when he got home, he was just going to slice this walrus open, grab all the oils and so on, put the other parts into chunks for his dogs, and throw the rest to the seagulls who were anxiously awaiting the offal that would come their way. So he was about to take the knife he just rubbed against a rubbing stone for making knives sharp, and about to attack the walrus, and the walrus suddenly spoke up and said, "No, wait a minute, let's discuss this before you make a decision," or an incision, as the case may be. And Waldo was so surprised that this walrus could talk. He said, well, yes, first of all, I'm shocked you can talk. How did that happen? Well, I went to a special school for walruses. It's boring. I need to get to the point here. Don't kill me, and I will grant you 3 wishes. And so Waldo thought about that. He said, well, that sounds like a better deal than the oil that you might give me. You have a deal if you can prove you can do it. And so Walrus said, Walrus didn't have a name. He was just Walrus. Walrus said, ask me your first wish. All right. I would like 5 pounds of gold delivered to my doorstep this very instant. And sure enough, no sooner had he finished saying that when it went knock, knock, knock. And sure enough, there was 5 pounds of glittering gold coins wrapped inside a big leather bag. And suddenly, Waldo really knew he was onto something. No. So the walrus said, well, give me your next wish. What's your next wish? I have to digest this. I should have asked for 5,000 pounds. You can do that now if you wish. And so, well, why not? I would like 5,000 pounds of gold. Sure enough, it was not the sound of reindeer on his roof from Santa Claus. It was a storm of several gold coins, 5,000 pounds of which came rolling mostly down his chimney, but also down across the yard, front and back. And it was just loaded with gold. And he said, well, this is really something. And so then the walrus said, well, you still have one left. He said, I want all the gold in the world. And before he could even finish that sentence, suddenly there's this gigantic avalanche of gold that kept coming and coming and landing on his door and on his roof and through his roof because it gave way to all the tremendous weight of all the gold in the world. And it kept coming and it kept coming until it crashed through the roof and the bedrooms upstairs and down the hallways, down the staircase until it fully enveloped Waldo and crushed him and asphyxiated him. So the moral of the story is, when you see a walrus, kill it right away and take the oil. Story 1.